Thank you, everybody. Pete Jobe, Digital and Product Marketing Manager at TE Connectivity. I think we're going to start with an overview of exactly who TE Connectivity is. TE Connectivity, we create a safer, sustainable, productive, and connected future. That's really our mission. So that can be high-speed solutions, that can be data connectivity, that can be below the sea, connectors, sensors, relays, switches, any electronic components and or solutions that we can provide the customer. We're about a $14 billion company. We manufacture $220 billion products annually, and we break it out by transportation, industrial, and communications. And you can see what that breakout is and what those solutions are. Our commitment is being close to our customer. We do that, and we have a pretty split revenue model by region, but also we have that breakout evenly distributed by our manufacturing sites and the number of employees. So that is strategic when you talk about being close to the customer. We manufacture close to the customer. We have our employees close to the customer, and we partner and provide solutions for over 140 countries. And I just want to say, every connection counts is TE Connectivity's trademarked, and I just want to say thank you for the connections this week with everybody. It's been great getting to know everybody, and TE Connectivity has provided some swag for any questions that you have for me, because the connection to the customer counts, and the connections to you this week really counts to me. So thank you, everybody. Now we'll kind of get into it. So aligning the search strategy to the customer journey, we take a look at what are the KPIs, what are the content, what are the creative elements, what are the keywords, and how do we identify content gaps within each one of those and as we align. And we'll get into kind of how we do that, but it starts with the search curve. So when you talk about, that fat head and the top volume, that's really going to be the brand terms. When you take a look at that awareness driving back down to the next stage of the journey, the consider and evaluation, that would be solutions. So as I mentioned, high speed, I talk about data connectivity. That would be the next kind of level down that we're trying to push the customers down into that next stage. Category terms might be relays, might be connectors, might be sensors, might be any type of the products and the breadth of the portfolio TE has. And then we have the category plus terms, which would be PCB relay. And then we have the product terms, which would be a specific type. It might be a telecom PCB signal relay, and then we have the part numbers, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-7. So as you can see, we kind of are building down and aligning, okay, based off of the volume, those part numbers are going to be less volume, but they're going to be that long tail. But you're going to have more volume on the brands. How do we align the search curve? So what we really did was we took that search demand curve and we flipped it and we aligned it to that awareness, consider, evaluate, and transact. And then, of course, you have the retain, reward, retention on the backside after the transact, because you want to make sure that you are remarketing, you are retaining, and you are rewarding your customers. And then as you kind of take a look at that, and after you align the keywords to the buying journey, you say, okay, how are we going to align the CTAs to those keywords within the journey? So you may have a brand term that is going to have a different CTA than on the bottom of the funnel. So if you have a part number, you're going to obviously have a buy now, would be one example. But if you're on the B2B side, it would be schedule a demo. You get the demo on the side. So on the awareness side, the CTA might be white paper. It might be educational webinar. But on the purchase side, you're going to have that, again, free trial, demo, buy now. Then you take that CTA after you align it to the journey and you say, okay, what is the landing page experience from that CTA? And on the CTA side, you want to make sure that you have that experience, that you drive that CTA to that landing page. So the awareness brand term might be driving to the home page, and then the bottom of the funnel would be driving to the part detail page. But you want to make sure that you're not misaligning the CTAs to the landing page experience based off of the keywords that you've aligned to the journey. And then from there, you take a look at it and you say, okay, now I've aligned my CTAs, and I've aligned my landing pages, and I've got this all figured out. but all of a sudden, the CTA that I'm driving to the landing page, I don't have the content for. So every company is going to be different. You're going to take a look at, okay, this specific example is just one example, but what we found is we may be missing videos. We may not have webinars. We may not have white papers on that particular type of product for the campaign that we're about to launch or thinking about launching. So that's really how, and I really recommend everybody kind of lay that out, because it does help you find those content gaps within the CTAs and the content alignment for that piece of the journey. And then you say, okay, I've got my content, I've got my CTAs, I've got my landing pages. How do I tie that back to my KPIs? Well, you're going to have different KPIs for that CTA, and you're going to have different CTAs based off of where they are within the top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. So in the bottom of the funnel, that CTA, that buy now, obviously you're going to be talking pipeline revenue, MQLs, MQL to opportunity conversion. You're going to be talking about e-commerce. You're going to be talking about carts. On top of funnel, you're going to be talking about form visits. You're going to be talking about traffic. So you want to make sure that you're aligned internally within your company about what those CTAs are based off of what the landing page experience, based off of what you're going to be reporting out from a metrics perspective. Then once you have exactly what you're going to be reporting out, what you're going to be talking about, you got to make sure that you align your lead scoring strategy accordingly. So if you are bidding on a brand keyword that has a CTA that is going to the homepage, and you're bidding out on traffic or form submits or downloads based off of that CTA, you need to make sure you're aligning that to the lead scoring models. So you're going to make sure that the leads that you're driving on the bottom of the funnel are going to more align to the lead scoring, which is going to be more on that A1 side rather than the bottom of the funnel that's going to be more on that D4 side. Then you get into the sales, marketing, and automation process. And really, when you take a look at the three stools of sales, marketing, or the three legs of the stool of the sales, marketing, and automation, you take a look at intelligence, you take a look at quality, and you take a look at routing. So a couple examples of what we've done and what I've done in previous companies is, from an intelligence standpoint, add some form fields that are free to your specific that are free form fields in your forms that you can give some intelligence to your sales team. So what that's going to do is that's going to give them that intelligence to be able to call an action on that lead. The next thing you want to do is drive routing. So from a routing perspective, that may be exactly how your sales team is going to do. So is your sales team aligned by state? Is it aligned by region? Is it aligned by country? How do they route that? So how are you helping your sales team route? Because you need to be providing that routing to them. So one example for us that I put in there was state. So we add state to our forms to help the sales team. Then from a quality perspective, you can really drive quality by doing a couple things. I mean, site extensions, the request for sample, contact us is one example. Also, you can have the, there's this, the little firework there. The highlighted for the check a box for the free demo or for a free contact us. Yes, I want to be contacted. Then you can get that on a top level form and integrate that in. So now we're driving intelligence, quality, routing for our sales and marketing automation. Then once you drive that intelligence, you drive that quality, you drive that routing, you want to make sure you talk to your sales team. So I'll be talking to my sales team probably 2-3 times a day by minimum. You want to make sure you're not disattached from your sales team. I'll probably sit close. I'll be in their go meetings. I'll be talking to them about their pipeline management. I'll be talking to them about their capacity. Are you having conversations with your sales team about their capacity? If not, you probably should be. Are you talking about how you can help them? How you can provide more intelligence? Because you probably should be. And then job shadow. Are you listening? At least once a week. You probably should be listening to what the customers are saying. You probably should be job shadowing, and you probably should be knowing and hearing exactly the feedback from the leads that are coming back. Then you want to scale. So once you kind of get the framework, you want to scale. So one of the things about scaling that is really hard within search, although if you're not on the e-commerce side, you can weight conversions with revenue, right? So us particularly, we can't do that. You can't use revenue, but so you have to find another way to do it. So you do that with automated bid management. And the easiest way to take a look at automated bid management is pennies, nickels, quarters, dimes. You want a quarter, but you want a lot of pennies, and you don't want to give up any nickels either. So a download document might be a nickel, and a contact us might be a quarter. So that's essentially how I would explain how you weight conversions within automated bid management platforms. Then you go to the grocery store and you see that the produce has their best produce and their best intent, their highest intent within the grocery store out in front of you, right? So when you take a look at how you're optimizing feeds and feed management perspective within e-commerce, you want to make sure that you're aligning with the grocery store strategy. That's essentially making sure that the highest intent, the most important and relevant information is out front. Customers are going to click on the most important and the relevant information if you optimize your feeds correctly. And that's not just Google or Bing Merchant Center. That's aligning with any other feeds that you send out with your feed partners. And that's all I had.
We have time for questions. Pete? You may, over here.
Oh, I did that. Awesome. Monica from Taka Marketing. I'm just curious, you were mentioning with the longer tail keywords, how do you go about building them out, or how are you targeting those? Because obviously that can be very time consuming.
Yeah, they're essentially, we pull them essentially from our feeds, and then we map to the landing page. That helps us move pretty quickly.
You mentioned content development and finding the content gaps. How do you tell us a little bit more about how you work with the content team? How big is it, and how what you're doing justifies greater investment on the content side, since content always seems to be sort of the weak link in an ambitious search program?
Yeah, that's a great question. So being a part of the corporate team at a relatively sizable company, you can imagine we have a lot of businesses that we need to pull in. We need to make sure we're leveraging our product portfolio and including each one of those businesses within each one of our pieces of content if it's applicable. So what we'll do is we'll work with the engineers of each one of those businesses, and then we'll pull them in, and they'll provide in the content, and they'll help support the content team in developing that. And then our content team will do a great job in kind of summarizing that, pulling that together, and making it what it is. It's a great question.
Well, it's like that sort of always ends up being the weak link and justifying spend in content is often one of the hardest sells within a company. And having the kind of framework that you have helps justify that.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Development and that cost.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Pete, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.